欢迎大家来到泰国邦盛街道赛道观看亚洲豹时间卡拉拉杯2025年第8回合的赛事直播，在现场有非常多的朋友。Hello everyone, and we are now in Bangsaen Street Circuit for round 8 of Porsche Carrera Cup Asia 2025 season. As you can see around us, there's so many people. The atmosphere here is phenomenal. Let's welcome our pit reporter, Steve Dawson.
Atmosphere is phenomenal, isn't it? Best weekend of the year for my money. I mean, we're by the sea. That's wonderful. It's a little bit cooler than it has been earlier in the day, which is also great, but there's so many fans here. Really does make for a super atmosphere, as you say, Sammy. On the track, Dylan Pereira had a superb qualifying round. He's on pole today. And for tomorrow's race, championship leader, of course, among the amateur drivers, we've got to keep an eye on that as well, because Bangsaen Street will be driving in front of his compatriots. He's not on pole though. That honour falls to Yan Chuang for the first time in 2025. So lots to look forward to across all 4 categories today.
I think it's going to be extra challenging because this year is the first time we have 4 categories on the track, and it's super narrow, many turns. So we're going to see how they are going to fight in that track. Let's pass it back to our commentators.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Steve. Down on the grid on the streets of Bangsaen. And look at that, right by the beach as well. Around 100 kilometers east of Bangkok, we have landed in Thailand. And one hometown driver, Munkong Satien Tirukun, is going to be geared up for that challenge. It's been a little bit of time since we were last racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. My name's Arjuna Kankipati. Welcome back, or welcome along if you're joining us for the very first time. It was the 6th through 8th of June that we were racing at the Sepang International Circuit, but we're glad to be back racing on the streets. Let's go back down to the grid, though. Catch back up with Sammy, who's found some very important guests as we get ready to hit the streets for the first time this weekend. Let's go down, catch up with her.
2 important guests joining me today. We have the Managing Director of Porsche Motorsports Asia Pacific, Mr. Alexandre Gibault, and together with Series Manager Alex Imperatori. So please wave to the camera.
Hello, welcome everyone.
And so it's great to have you here in Bangsaen, and I know that June is a major month in global motorsports. So please share with us what has been going on with Porsche Motorsports Asia Pacific.
Yeah, I mean, in general for Porsche, as a brand, it has been a very busy month in June. With the 3 biggest 24 hours race of the year in back-to-back. So globally, I think was quite successful 3 weeks. We won Le Mans 24 hours in GT, finished second in overall in a hypercar with Porsche Penske Motorsport. Nürburgring also was very performant. At the end, the outcome is we finished second, but still a great performance. And last week in Spa 24 hours, also second. So I think overall, out of the 3 weeks, Porsche was very good, whether on a factory racing side, also on the customer racing side, and also for Porsche Motorsport Asia Pacific, it has been also very busy with some racing, some good racing in China last weekend with the GT4. This weekend we are in Bangsaen, but we are also in Sugo for the Super Taikyu. Next week we're going to be also in the GT World Challenge Asia in Fuji, where we are fighting for the championship. So yeah, it's very busy, but it's good busy.
Yes, it sounds really exciting. Now that we are coming back to this iconic track, what does this represent from the perspective of Porsche Motorsports Asia Pacific?
I mean, for us, it's a very important landmark. We were the very first international series to come here with the Carrera Cup Asia back in 2017. So of course it's always a special place for us, and I think also for the Porsche community, in general. It's not just bringing the racing community here, but it's also, the let's say the leverage we do around the event. It's quite unique. Also with our colleague from Porsche Thailand, we have a lot of road car customer coming also here and enjoying the very unique experience of Bangsaen Grand Prix. So yeah, it's always a very special place for us, for driver. I think they really enjoy it, and the good thing is when you see from year to year how the event is developing and getting more and more professional. So that's very great to see, and very good to see that Porsche Motorsport Asia Pacific was the first one to come here.
Yes, we are very happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Mr. Gibault. So Alex, you are a driver and also an organizer. From your perspective, how is Bangsaen unique to you?
Well, first of all, I think look at this setting. We are right here on the beach, and where else around the world do you race right at the beach? So it's very special. It's a very tricky street circuit, narrow, very bumpy. So what it means is that it's a huge challenge for the drivers. It's not easy, to go fast here and not make a mistake. At the same time, there is no room for error. So, if you make a mistake, you are punished right away. And our drivers need to contend with this. It means qualifying is very challenging because the gaps are very small. It's a competitive field. But at the same time, qualifying is extremely important due to the nature of the track. As racing is then very challenging afterwards. So qualifying is very important.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Not that we are racing on this iconic track, we are also debuting Carrera Cup Asia's first Street Cup. So please share with us about this exciting competition.
Yes, the PCCA Street Cup is a new incentive, a new initiative that we started this year. It's composed, basically it's a mini championship composed of our two street events here in Bangsaen and then later on also in Singapore. And this is also, with special prizes on offer for our drivers. So it's, an extra carrot for all of them. And, it's also to keep things fresh and always creating new excitement in the Carrera Cup Asia.
Yes, same old track, but with new challenges. Certainly very exciting. Thank you to both of our Alexes, and let's pass it back to our commentators.
Very exciting news indeed. The fact that Street Cup is going to combine the results effectively of both the races here at Bangsaen, but also at the season finale at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. And so that's going to be an interesting sort of turn. You can see the waves crashing onto the beach off on the right-hand side of the shot right now. But let's head down to the grid where Steve Dawson is catching up with Dylan Pereira, pole sitter in the pole class. He's down there at the front of the field once again in the Team Shanghai Honda BWT number 5.
Car number 5 in pole position once again, Dylan Pereira. Dylan, you were the only man under 135 in qualifying, and you did it twice. It looks like you and the car are in great shape again.
Yeah, definitely, especially after not driving on free practice. I think we did a really good job to put the car like it was in qualifying. I felt really confident somehow, or even on this track I think you need some laps to really get the confidence, but I think I managed really well, so really happy about that. Now starting from pole position, the weather looks a little bit strange. Let's see if we will get some rain or not, but we try all this.
It's a very tight circuit here. How's anyone going to overtake you?
Yeah, definitely it's more hard than in all the other tracks, but it's never impossible, let's say. So I have to try to make no mistakes and try to stay ahead, and then we'll be fine. But let's see what the weather says.
Drive safely.
Thank you.
An electrical issue for Dylan Pereira is what held him away from rolling out in practice for more than 2 laps. But 29 degrees Celsius our air temperature. A chance of rain 55%, but the word is tomorrow there is a slightly higher likelihood of breakout spots of rain. Not anything intense, but definitely something to keep in mind. Let's head down to our Pro-Am, though, pole sitter, BWT Phantom G Racing. Bao Jinlong won both races here last year. Can he do it from the front of the Pro-Am class here in 2025?
Car number 7 in P7, Bao Jinlong. That's pole position among the Pro-Am drivers. Great qualifying round, Jinlong. How does the car feel? How do you feel?
The car is very good, and team is very good. My car is perfect.
Drive well.
Yes, thank you.
Hurrying through these interviews because there is one slight difference for today's race. You'll notice we're not actually on the starting grid right now. We're on the false grid, and these drivers will be rolled out for 2 formation laps. They'll be given an additional formation lap here today before they line up for what will still be a standing start and flying up the hill into the opening corner. There's a look at one of the Giltrap Group machines. I'm guessing that's probably Brock Gilchrist. There is the 38 of Hugo Ellis in the Sime Motors Racing machine. After a couple of 4th place finishes in our races at Sepang, he'll be hoping to try and climb his way onto the podium, while Amir Harris Jeffries got some work to do. I understand why we were flying through the interviews now. The doors have been closed, so we will not be talking to any more drivers as we inch closer to the start of the first of two 14-lap sprints. So let's talk to you about championship points, where Dylan Pereira is on a roll. He's won 6 races in a row, and so almost 75 points clear of Enzo Trulli, who bounced back after a couple of disappointing races at Motegi to move his way to second at Sepang. He's in front of Hugo Ellis. Then in the Pro-Am classifications, Bao Jinlong has been consistently at the front for 4 races in a row, while Munkong Satien Tirukun, the hometown driver, has got a commanding lead, won every single race of the AM classification, while Adrian De Silva, DNS for him as well as for Jackie Wu, has brought Christian Chia and John Shen into the mix in the Masters Championship, new for 2025, that Masters Championship as well. It's within 11 points at the front 3, and again, we are flying through things because they are off and away. We do get 2 formation laps though, let's not forget. Let's talk to you about how they'll line up. Dylan Pereira, only 2 practice laps, but almost 1 second clear of the field in his search for 7 wins in a row in the Team Shanghai Honda BWT machine. Rodrigo Diaz Almeida for Team Jebsen, DNS in the last race at Sepang, but his last podium came at Shanghai. What can he do from second? While Dylan Yip for Phantom Global Racing is third. He's got Enzo Trulli in the 99 Toro Racing entry, who did battle some performance issues in our last round of the championship. Hugo Ellis, Sign Motors Racing, is 5th. He's got Brock Gilchrist alongside, whose return after appendicitis was solid, looking to build forward in the Team Porsche New Zealand entry. Look at that wind. As Bao Jinlong, the Pro-Am pole sitter, is going to line up 7th. He's got Amir Harris Jeffrey to his right-hand side in Z-Speed Motorsports number 45. Josh Rowledge crashed in practice. The Team We Trade PGR crew have done a great job to rebuild the car and put him alongside of Lee Chow, who lines up 2nd in Pro-Am. 3rd is Eric Zhang, who returns to the series in the Toro Racing number 77. Yen Chuang, his first ever pole, looking for his first ever Porsche Carrera Cup Asia win in the AM Championship. But he's got Munkong Satien Tirukun not far behind him for EBM, 1 row behind, and lining up alongside Francis Chia, who's got to fight his way forward to really get amongst the rest of the Pro-Am class. Henry Kwong is 15th in the Triple Ace Racing number 91, while Christian Chia for Open Road Racing is alongside in the number 16. He's the best of the Masters drivers. He's got John Shen 1 row behind him, looking to try and fight his way forward. Eric Kwong, who won 1 race here last time out in 2024. His Bergwerk Motorsports 23 is back in 18th, and alongside of Zhu Feng, who returns for the first time in a handful of races. Last time we saw him was Motegi. Adrian De Silva's then 20th, and Jackie Wu's at the back of the field. And was that some drops of rain needing to be cleared off the camera lenses? Not quite sure, as the Porsche safety / medical car follows them at the back of the field. See how tight some of these sections really are though. About 19 odd corners, around 3.7 odd kilometers at the Bangsaen Street Circuit. And again, as I mentioned, 2 formation laps, so you'll see them go again around this track and weave back and forth, putting heat and temperature into those Michelin tires. Right, let's take a bit of a breather and talk to you about some of the storylines. That wind is one of them, because it was not this strong earlier on. And so let's talk about our track analysis. The 3.7 odd kilometers, 20 turns, depending on which track map you look at. Overtaking spots very much out of turn 1 into the braking zone of turn 2, and then down the back straightaway into turn 8. Also, the final couple of corners, there's a lunge opportunity there. But this is something to call out. The grid's an uphill climb, and so be careful on the start. Don't slip back in your stall. Don't try and jump too early either. Sector 1, on the exit of turn 2, when you try to get the power down, it's very bumpy and it can be very, very difficult. We're looking at the hairpin at turn 6 though, so I mean, just try and visualize a pass here. This very much more like Macau in terms of street circuits than Singapore, than the Marina Bay Street Circuit that we're going to go to for the final round of our season, and boy am I excited about that as well. That is an interesting track, despite losing the Singapore sling chicane that tormented many. Is that the right way to describe it? They're exiting out of turn 10 right now, I do believe, for most of the drivers. Look at the debris that's just being thrown around the track. Let's go down to Steve Dawson though and try and get a sense for what the conditions are like, because boy, does this look tough. Steve, tell us what's going on down on the streets.
Absolute chaos here in the interview with Bangsaen.
Some technical issues there, but it seems as though, and I'm guessing here, are we thinking about switching on to the wet tyres at some point in this race? Pit lane is not a regular sort of pit lane, and maybe we'll talk about that at some point, but let's get ready to rumble. This is what the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia is all about, challenging drivers with different sort of tracks. And so from the Herman Tilke designed Sepang International Circuit, hosted Formula One for many a year, we hit the streets of Bangsaen. First raced around here in 2007, but it was 10 years after that before the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia came here for the very first time. Since 2017, we've seen some memorable races, but last year, the regular drivers, including Dylan Pereira, weren't in action. Instead, Chris Vanderdrift, Florian Latour grabbed victories. Vanderdrift's trackside here supporting Porsche Team New Zealand and their drivers as they get ready to go. The windshield wipers are working. Are they on slicks? Are they on wet tires? Who knows? As the waves crash near to the drivers on the beach of Bangsaen, we are ready to go. It's a Porsche symphony that sings out once again. Lights out by the sea. Here we go. Poor start from DS Almeida, who tries to chop the nose off of Dylan Yip as they rumble 3 wide behind in the fight for 4th position. They've got to be careful here. Tires surely not up to temperature. Pereira's going to lead. DS Almeida holds on to 2nd, and behind him Dylan Yip's in 3rd. They're tiptoeing over each other behind. Looks like Eric Kwong was the one really squirming up the hill. Excuse me, that's Zhuzhe Feng, that's the one that's struggling in the 610 for traction as they now squirrel down in towards the braking zone of turn 6. No one thinks of a passing opportunity here and rumble off into the 2nd sector for the first time. Green flags fly around the track, but how careful are the drivers having to be at BWT Pink Machine? That was Baojin Long, the Pro-Am pole sitter. At the front of the field, it's still Dylan Pereira, waiting for them to break the timing beams for the very first time as they tiptoe their way out of turn 8. DS Almeida, after the poor start, instantly has made the ground back up though. What can he do in the Team Jebsen 55? The Porsche Dealer Trophy Championship has been dominated by Team Shanghai Honda BWT, much like the Drivers' Championship. And DS Almeida put the pressure on Dylan Pereira, who's made it 6 pole positions in a row. Are we going to see anyone dive to pit lane? Now that looked like Hugo Ellis in the Sign Motors racing machine trying to make a move. Some cars going out wide. Does it open an opportunity as the first of 14 laps will come to an end? It's Pereira from DS Almeida, then Dylan Yip, Enzo Trulli, Hugo Ellis, Rob Gilchrist, and Baojin Long has held on to the Pro-Am lead. Am lead still held by Yen Trang, fending off the advances of Munghong Sati and Tirukun, the hometown driver, trying to use that energy to feed him forward, while it's Christian Chia in the 88 leading in the Masters class. And let's not forget, there is a big mix-up in the championship with 3 drivers covered by 11 points. Chia 2nd and only 7 points behind of Adrian De Silva. If they finished as they were, Chia would take over the championship lead in that Masters Championship. Yen Trang is on his search for his first ever Porsche Carrera Cup Asia victory in the AM class. That would be a story for him. Not such a similar story when we talk about Baojin Long, the 5-time Pro-Am champion winner here in the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. DS Almeida starting now to see if he can work the back end on the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars that are all spec between these drivers. Dylan Pereira did go off and race in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. Made some interesting videos about the motorhome that he was using. Look at the front end on DS Almeida's car. That radiator starting to get a little bit covered up. Wondering if there's going to be some heat starting to build in the engine, but seemingly it does seem as though slick tires the way to go for the drivers, and it's working okay. 2.5 seconds the gap between DS Almeida and Dylan Yip. Great job from Team Jebsen's 55 so far. So Baojin Long's got Amir Harris Jeffrey between him and Eric Zhang. That's exactly what he needs. Remember, they fight, yes, for position on track, and if you're a pro driver, yes, you're fighting for overall points as well, but in each class, you're really just fighting your respective drivers. Enzo Trilli feels the pressure from Hugo Ellis in that Sign Motors Racing 38, the distinctive red Toro Racing 99 of Trilli. Still holding on to what is 4th position right now. A mixed bag for Enzo Trilli as well. Yes, he's second in the points, but I mean, last time out at Sepang, he was really struggling with the balance of the car, I feel. And yes, he scored with a race victory in our first round of the championship, but that's a race victory that was on countback with a red flag. So I don't want to take it away from him. He definitely earned the win, and he's won a couple of races in Super Formula Lights in Japan as well. We know he's got the speed as he transitions from open wheel to sports cars. That was a wiggle as they feed through the tight twisty stuff. That's going to allow Ellis to close through the final corner, then the long right-hander, and back to the line. End of lap number 3. Munkong Sati and Tirakun have got in front of Yen Chuang. That will be a popular win if our championship leader can hold on. He would also make it a quite remarkable, and I'm having to count this out just so I don't trip over myself, 8 victories in a row in 2025. Gotta love it for Munkong, who you won't miss in that bright 76 blue entry. And there is drops through turn 1. Windshield wipers, not just for decoration now here. And who makes the call to peel off to pit lane? It's a windy day as well. Boy, these are the conditions that make the drivers work. And in cars without ABS, without traction control, they are being tested. Through the right-hander at turn 8. That's Baojin Long still in front of Harris Jeffrey. So Pro-Am in front of Pro. Just in front of them is Brock Gilchrist in that Team Porsche New Zealand machine. Now, I did mention that Chris Vanderdrift, winner of the first race here in 2024, is here supporting Team Porsche New Zealand and therefore supporting Brock Gilchrist as well. He did go out and shake down one of the competitors' cars. Both Dylan Pereira and Josh Rowledge were allowed the opportunity for Florian Latour and Chris Vanderdrift, last year's race winners, to go out and do a quick shakedown. Now, these drivers do not peel off to pit lane. That would be on the right-hand side of the track. But lap times have gone from 138.2s to 147s. That's 10 seconds of fall-off almost. Tiptoe through turns 1 and 2. You can see how bumpy it is as well. We were talking about that in our track analysis. I am loving this. Oh, and that's the flag that tells people to watch out for slippery things on the track. It could be oil, it could be debris. In this case, best believe it's moisture. Dylan Pereira. We mentioned that he had limited practice, but let's just also highlight what that means at a track like this, right? This is a track where confidence is everything. The grip in the track also builds up. You know, mostly it's public roads, so as the weekend goes on, and this rain's not going to help. Usually Sundays when the track's at its fastest, right? So you've laid down the racing rubber. To not get much time in practice and then go out there and be almost a full second quicker than the competitors. in qualifying, I mean, it beggars belief, and it's a reason why he's at the front of the championship right now. And of course, let's not forget his accolades. 2022 Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup champion. He has reached the top of the top in this car before. Hugo Ellis still hot on the heels of Enzo Trilli. Not quite giving him a bit of a shove to remind him that he's there just yet. Not too far off the back of Dylan Yip, who's closed that gap back up to DS Almeida. So I wonder if Dylan Pereira, who's now gone back up to a 1:45.954, so it's about a second quicker than what he was doing a few laps ago. I wonder if he's found a bit more pace in the Team Shanghai Honda BWT machine. Love that shot as they flick out of 5 down to 6. Special steering rack is in use for this specific race, by the way. So that steering rack gets returned from Mandalika. They're not allowed to use it. I'm guessing it's mostly to get through the hairpin at turn 6. Not guessing we're going to need it in the second of our Street Cup races. That was very cool to hear about from our VIPs down on the grid pre-race. Extra prizes to consider for the drivers. And that's a fight between Francis Chia and Henry Kwong. So 4th in the Pro-Ams and 3rd in AM, fighting for track position. And there is Munkong Sathyanthiraphong, loving being back home here in Thailand. And that bright teal, number 76, the EBM entry, Orabamba Motorsports. Flying right now. In fact, Munkong is not far off of the pace of the pros right now. And he is considerably faster than everyone behind him, with maybe the exception of Francis Chia. So Pereira has completed lap 6 of this race. He's now 2.3 seconds clear, so builds his advantage back up to DS Almeida. We'll be careful on the painted stuff for Sathyanthiraphong. There's Dylan Yip behind Hugo Ellis, or rather in front of Hugo Ellis, behind your race leader. Bounces out of the chicane, or rather the hairpin once again, as they work down to where there once was a chicane. That's what I was going to say. That was one of the few changes that this circuit has seen in its layout, but back in 2014-2015, circuit was put through a project to modernize it, to bring the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia and many other series here indeed as well, bring it up to international standards of safety, and so that's brought it to its current 20-turn 3.74 kilometer layout. And so the 22nd season of the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia, we are delighted to be back here once again. Remember, in terms of the championship, we went to Shanghai. That's another, Herman Tilke sort of designed Formula One track. Twin Ring Motegi, which is a roval, but in no description does it match a traditional American roval, such as Daytona or Homestead, etc., etc. Sepang, an F1 style circuit. Bangsaen, Mandalika, which I'm very excited about, 22nd through 24th of August, we'll head there for second and final Endurance Cup round, and then Marina Bay Street Circuit. Here comes the look. Can Harris Jeffrey try and get to the inside on the braking zone of turn 2? Turn 1's a fast right-hander, and Baojun Long parks it on the middle. This is a very difficult track in which to make your moves. We're seeing that right now. Gaps building between the drivers. Baojun Long has got a full 10.5 seconds to Eric Zong, the returning Eric Zong as well, in the Toro Racing 77, after Lu Kai-shun stepped in at Sepang. We didn't see Eric though either at Motegi, so last time we saw him was when he took the top step of the podium in race 2 at the Shanghai International Circuit. Great to have him back. Does look as though one driver did not take the start, by the way, so we'll see if we can get word on that slightly later on. Jason Poe in the 610 Racing number 22, but quite sure. Fly past the 711, that's on the inside of sequence of fast left-handers. Through 16, into 17. Halfway through this first sprint race of the weekend. Dylan Pereira still in control, but you've got to say, DS Almeida, Dylan Yip, Hugo Ellis, Enzo Trulli, and then Brock Gilchrist, they're all holding station in what looks like very greasy conditions visually. Again, still not entirely sure if they are all on the slicks, but at this point, if they're on the slicks, boy, must it be a struggle. And the more Bao Long defends, the more you wonder how much he's going to compromise himself at some point. Just sent a message off to Steve Dawson, our pit reporter. We got interrupted with him when we tried to talk to him earlier. Let's see if we can get the word at least through text-based means of communication. Trying to get the 500 plus horsepower down. The rear wheels are squirming. Lights flash, but that's mental mind games at work. Here comes the look from Brock Gilchrist. Big send. Enzo Trulli's got to give way. And that's a switch for 5th position. Bao Long and Harris Jeffrey close up as well in this 4-car choo-choo train. Trulli saw no other option, I think, at that point. Check back in with Masters class leader. It's Christian Chia in the Open Road Racing 88. John Shen's directly behind him. Flames on the front end. And John, by the way, interesting stat. At Sepang, he finished on every step of the podium. 3rd in race 1, 2nd in race 2, 1st in the final race. So, hoping to try and go back-to-back here. And words come through from Steve. They are on the slicks. They were wet compound tires down on the grid, so they didn't switch them over. That's what maybe some of the communication might have been about. But it does still look like a dusting, a sprinkling of rain right now more than anything. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a cakewalk or a waltz in the park by any means, but I'm sure some of these drivers have raced in worse conditions given weather in the region. As someone who grew up in Singapore, I'm quite familiar with the sudden monsoon that can spring down on you. And the thing is, we've got some championships. Both Dylan Pereira, Munkong Sati and Tirakun, they could lock the championship up in Mandalika. There could be relatively little to talk about when we get to Marina Bay. We'll have the Street Cup to talk about, that's for sure. But, I mean, Munkong, he's almost perfect through this season. He's lost a couple of points for fastest laps. He's lost a couple of points for qualifying. But I think if you do the math, he's lost 4 points off of what he could have achieved. It couldn't go much better, really. Yen Chuang's not far behind him, though, so maybe I shouldn't talk too much more. 27, closing the Phantom Global Racing Machine. Hoping to spoil the party for Thailand's own. This part of the track, the surface is looking slicker to me. Whereas right here, it doesn't look so bad. As DS Almeida, now 4 seconds off of our race leader, Dylan Pereira, feels the heat from Dylan Yip. The 21-year-old on the hunt. He's had 4 third-place finishes this season. Can he go that one step better? Don't mistake the similar liveries for teammates. It's Team Jepson's Rodrigo Diaz Almeida sitting in 2nd. And it is Hugo Ellis, Sime Motors Racing, sitting in 4th position. Let's go back down to the pit though. Let's see if we can catch up with Steve Dawson. Hear from him directly as rear end comes around for Diaz Almeida.
amazing timing, this weather. As soon as we finished our interview with Bao Jinglong, the wind got up, the palm trees behind me started rustling, and then it started to rain. And there was a huge panic in the pits as everyone prepared for the possibility of these wet tyres. It's just got even heavier down here in the pits. It's as strong as it's been all day. There's the possibility that some cars may get in trouble. Might be a bit too late to change tyres now.
And right on cue, safety car is deployed. Oh, because the returning Xu Jiefeng is in the wall. Oh, that's a shame. Buried himself, but he'll get out of there, and you can see locks up the tires, no ABS to help him, and it's down at turn 15. And was there another issue? Yes, there was. Bao Jinglong's gone deep. Now, has he held on to the Pro-Am lead, as the spectators have to try and cover themselves as well? On the radio, what's the communication? I was just going to say, picking up from Steve, that I thought the crossover point had been reached, that you had to be on the wet compound of tyre. But there was enough laps, or there were enough laps left in the race that maybe you would risk staying out there. I mean, look at that. That is straight on, pools of water out on the track. And this is the monsoon. Commentator's curse. Oh boy. Let me escort myself out of the global broadcast booth. Those are the steps you hear of someone that knows he's in trouble. I was just saying, Singapore monsoon style rain, right? Oh boy, well, Bao Jinglong is still not recovered from that position. Now, you can fire up reverse gear here, but is there a technical issue that's precluding him from doing so? The car was still jerking forward, but I'm not quite sure. Tell you what, maybe Steve's got more of a clue than me. Clueless up here. Steve, what's the word? Down in pit lane. I hope you're staying dry.
Well, as predicted, trouble on the track. Bao Jinglong obviously having a bit of a problem out there. We've got at least one car already come into the pits looking to change tyres, taking advantage of the fact perhaps that there's a safety car here. But this sudden change in weather was so unpredictable. Very difficult for anyone in the pits here to predict what was going to happen. And we're in for a dicey final few laps, that's for sure.
Well, dicey, not sure, because race control deeming it was dangerous enough. The red flag is thrown, and I've now been with the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia for 2 rounds, Sepang and here, and that's 2 red flags. So clearly I am the common factor, so I might not be back at Mandalika, unfortunately, which is a real shame. These are torrential conditions, though. And I'll be honest, I'm going to have to... Oh, there we go. Bao Jinglong's finally got himself out. That's great news, although he will now drop to the back. That means Eric Zhang is going to take over the Pro-Am lead. There's Sammy and Steve staying dry. Good for them. I was on pit lane at Watkins Glen with the great team at Radio Show Limited. I did not stay so dry, unfortunately. As they got a bit of similar sort of rain, to be honest. It was very monsoon-esque, as I described it to my friends. Tiptoe their way back. Now, Hugo Ellis does not have all the rain lights on, it would seem, that some of the others do, but Michelin rain tires coming out, and the crews will get to work. Or maybe not. The session will not resume, has just been flying through, or has just flown through on the race control board. Now, this is a busy weekend, of course, with the Thailand Super Series and so much other action going on. So we are on a bit more of a strict timetable than we were for our endurance round at Sepang, which, let's not forget, we started that race, had so much chaos on the opening lap that we had the red flag thrown, race start null and void, and we then effectively pretended like the race start didn't happen and went again. And that's why a handful of drivers were flagged as a DNS, not a DNF. So that's 2 consecutive races with red flags, albeit this one going to end under red flag. Does that mean Bao Jinglong is going to hold on to his win? Now, I'm going to hold fire on that one. But this is going to be one for us to pick apart in the post-race and down in pit lane. So Steve, Sammy, you've got some work coming as our team of safety workers, marshals, engineers, hard at work. This is a great event to see. I mean, they don't even have regular garages and stuff, right? They've got to build the sort of paddocks and spaces. It's not like, I'm not going to call them garages. They're tents, really, that the teams use as garages. It's a great effort, great thing to see. It's just a very different sort of event to anything else that we have seen so far. Again, confirmation, if you're just tuning in, race will not resume. But let's grab some highlights of Porsche Carrera Cup racing on the streets of Bangsaen. And it was all as Dylan Pereira looked to try and continue his streak up front. Electrical issues plagued him in practice, but he got it done in qualifying, almost a second clear of the rest of the field. The high wind started to strike as the field rolled out, and there were questions. Wet tyres, dry tyres, which do we use? DS Almeida not getting the best of launches from second and blocked off the path of Dylan Yip on the run up towards turn 1. They were 3 wide for third position, and in the back of the pack it was hectic. You can see the look of consternation on the faces of team managers, engineers, as they felt the uncertainty about what was happening. At times it did look as though the wind was so strong, debris was being thrust into the radiators of several cars, including DS Almeida. But then once the windshield wipers started working hard, that's when we knew conditions were getting tougher. Greasy for many, but Bangsaen Tirakun was mastering them in the AM class. He moved his way past Yen Chuang to grab the class lead, while Baojin Long held the Pro-Am class lead, fighting off pro drivers at the front. One of the few moves that we did see was Brock Gilchrist past Enzo Trulli for 5th position. As the rain got a little bit worse, Baojin Long eventually passed by Amir Harris Jeffrey. Late dive into turn 2, using turn 1 at fast right-hander as the setup. Unfortunately, it was Xu Feng that found himself into the wall. Baojin Long just avoided running himself into the tyres, but took a while to get recovered. Eventually the red flag would fly, and it would end up being one where Dylan Pereira would come out on top once again, albeit not seeing the checkered flag fly out on track. So I have a feeling this is one that the drivers are also going to be waiting to get some sense of clarity and finality on. The podium ceremony will be delayed slightly as well, but Dylan Pereira, Team Shanghai Honda, BWT, 3.7 odd seconds clear of DS Almeida, who holds on to what is his best finish this season. Dylan Yip grabs yet another third place. He'll be hoping to try and get one step better. That's 5 third places this season at some point. Hugo Ellis 4th, Brock Gilchrist in front of Enzo Trulli, and then Baojin Long, provisionally at least, does hold on to the class win in Pro-Am. He'll be thrilled with that. Harris Jeffrey, Josh Rowledge then 8th and 9th, with Eric Zhang in the Toro Racing Machine in 10th. Bangsaen Tirakun is the AM winner in the EBM number 76, while Yen Chuang was not far behind him. Let's go down, though, and catch up with our Pro winner and hear what Dylan Pereira has got to say to our own Steve Dawson.
Yet more happy times for Dylan Pereira. But Dylan, I mean, the timing of the weather here, just as you got started, the wind started rustling in the trees and the rain came down. Were there any concerns that you might have to change tyres?
Yeah, definitely. So at the grid already I was saying, let's see what the weather will do, because it was starting to be really dark, so I knew the rain was coming. So yeah, so when we were already going to the first formation lap, the rain was starting to drop a little bit. But the first lap was okay. I was really safe to see, okay, what's going on. Is it really damp or is it really wet? So, and then so then middle of the race, it was starting to be a bit more rain, especially in the last corner. And then the rest was okay, but it was changing condition all the time. So one corner was like this, then next lap it was wet, then dry, the next lap dry. So it was really difficult, especially on this track. It's already difficult with the walls. So now with the rain, I think at the end of the race we could see what's happening. So for me, which I've be a red flag earlier, would be easier. But okay, I think we managed and P1 are happy.
Must say, you seem to get an exceptionally good start.
Yeah, the start was pretty good. I think could be a little bit better even. I think I released the clutch a little bit too slow, but still was, compared to the other ones, it was a really good start. But then, just managed into turn 1 and 2 because I didn't know, okay, if it's wet or not. So even in turn 5, I locked up even in the first lap a little bit. So yeah, it was a crazy race, really concentration on maximum, because if not, you would just crash.
Just finally, it's so technical around here, isn't it? There's no sweeping curves that I know you guys enjoy. I mean, is it fun to drive here, or is it just very hard work?
Definitely fun to drive, but not on these conditions.
Okay. Rest well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. I will see you.
I don't blame him for saying that in these conditions, even a technical challenge like this, just because that much more treacherous, that much more precarious to work your way around. And so Dylan Pereira, who does grab yet another win, let's not forget that, and that makes it 7 wins on the bounce in that Team Shanghai Honda BWT machine. It just sees him continue to roll at the front of the championship. That will mean he now hits the 200-point mark. He won't have the championship wrapped up after tomorrow's second race of the weekend. I don't think there's a mathematical possibility of that. However, the first race at Mandalika, that's when things could be done and dusted potentially, based on current trends. He would need a championship lead of about 100 points. It's about 75 right now. You do the math. He's not far off by any means. For Bao Jinlong, he'll now have a slightly bigger advantage as well in the Pro-Am Championship, so that's him looking slightly more comfortable in his fight for 6 Pro-Am Championships in the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia in our 22nd season, so do the math. It's a pretty good track record for him. And then Munkong Satien Tirukun, again, let's just reiterate that for the hometown driver, for Thailand's own, that makes it continuing the streak of 100% race victories this season. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now 8 race wins in class in 2025. I'm sure he'll be thrilled by that one. Christian Chia, he'll have the Masters Championship lead if my math has held together as well. He finished first, John Shen second, and then Adrian De Silva, the championship leader coming into the round, down in third. So, new championship leader, the Canadian in the 88, the open road racing machine. That Masters Championship, new for 2025. The drivers that have been in the series previously, but it's good just to see that Porsche continuing to accommodate and try and encourage more and more to join the various championships they have. It's not just, of course, Porsche Carrera Cup Asia's. The idea behind the Porsche Carrera Cup ladder being to take you from maybe something like Porsche Sprint Challenge, which there are many now running around the world, then move forward up to the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia, for example, maybe Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, or many others, and then move from there. Well, just got word, podium ceremony further delayed, so we are going to step aside. We will be back tomorrow, racing for the second time this weekend, about 12:25 local, that's 5:25 AM GMT, so make sure to set your alarms if you're somewhere in Europe. But on behalf of the entire team, for Steve and Sammy, Sarjuna Kankipati signing off from Bangsaen. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, hopefully in dry conditions.